Welcome to BitBoy Crypto, the largest crypto community in all of the interwebs, in fact, the entire universe. Don't adjust your dials. It's Deezy here, not TJ today. Welcome to Around the Blockchain, your favorite crypto show, talking about your favorite crypto topics. And boy, do we got a good show today. Today, we're going to be joined by Cryptostache in the house. Always keeping it clean. Fresh from skipping town after defacing BitBoy's painting. But now he's back here to face the heat. We also have Arcane Bear. Sometimes he's a bullish, sometimes he's a little bearish, but today's Arcane Bear. And we also got fresh out of social media jail. It's Blockchain Boy. And your favorite crypto host in all the world. It's Ben Armstrong. And today's going to be a great show today. But before we get into all of that, we're going to hit the market watch. It looks like there's some exciting things hitting the scenes today. We got CeeLo up 25%. Looks like Bitcoin right now at 33,125. Looks like it's maybe trying to get below 33, but we're hoping it's going to stay above. And but I think we might have some charts here. Arcane Bear, I'm going to cut to you. Were there some interesting things you wanted to show the people today?
Yeah, perfect. Thanks for having me on again, gentlemen. Let's dive in and take a look. I want to start with something a little macro today. So a lot of people in the space right now are watching these Wyckoff accumulation ranges. We're a huge fan of this methodology. It's been around for a really long time. I've been using it pretty consistently the last 2 years. And this is kind of what everyone's looking for, this kind of phase C spring before we shoot off into a bull market. Now, a lot of what we are looking at on the macro scale, this is the daily time frame right now, and we were seeing a bit of a divergence here between the RSI. So that's when you have a rising RSI and a falling price point. Now, one of the things I thought would be important to do is take a look at the macro perspective, or the kind of picture of, or a bird's eye view of everything. So down here, this accumulation range is generally what we like to look for in a Wyckoff accumulation range, which is hundreds of days. And the total of this range was over 1,100 days. This is a really solid area for like, okay, we're going to see a bull market take place. So when we start to get into this minutia or these smaller macro movements, the charts like this, these accumulation schematics can actually very quickly become distribution schematics. And this is one of the downsides to this methodology is both in phase C and D, you can have a very quick changeover where it continues to break down. Now, from the macro perspective, what's really interesting is that these Wyckoff accumulation ranges, very consistently, we see what's known as an SOS, which signs for a sign of strength. And then we see a big LPS, which is a last point of supply. Now, we saw this in the previous bull market as well, back in 2017, where we had, if we'll just go back and retrospectively look at it really quickly here, we had an intermediary moment before the rest of the bull market continued right around this area where it dropped significantly around 35% before we continued much higher. And that's kind of what I'm expecting here. So even though this chart doesn't look very good, like to me, right on the macro perspective, this looks like it could very easily be like a giant head and shoulders. The overall viewpoint of Bitcoin right now, there are very few assets that have the potential to do what Bitcoin and especially alongside the DeFi sector for the financial world around us. So things are actually looking really good. For any new investor, getting in is one of the most important parts, but consistency is another really important part. If you flash back to 2017, had you bought the top and actually just consistently bought maybe once every a month on the 11th of the month, because it happens to be your favorite number, you actually ended up getting a really nice rounded price. So for those of you that are new to this sector, try not to get too worried about the day-to-day, I would say, and focus on long-term accumulation strategies, and you generally come out way ahead of the game. So we'll just kind of leave it like that for Bitcoin for now, but there's some really interesting stuff going on in Ethereum and Cardano, and maybe we can wait till we go over those with the Grayscale Trust conversation.
I like it. We're getting a little numerology with the Wyckoff pattern. I'm liking what I'm seeing. And like he was saying, the RSI is getting higher lows. For those who don't know, it's a relative strength index, and while we're getting the higher lows on the RSI, we're actually getting lower prices. So that's what he was saying. It's a bullish divergence. From a traditional trading point of view, it's a good sign. It typically means that the markets are going to bounce up. Ben, I want to cut to you. Since this looks like you got a little 4th of July sign behind you. This is a holiday weekend. Last time we saw a holiday weekend, it was Memorial Day. Looks like it took a little bit of a tumble. I think the end of day Thursday was around 37,000, and then over Memorial Day weekend, it got as low as about 33,000. Well, we're at 33,000 no, so Now, are you seeing like it might possibly hit around 29, 30? What do you think we can expect this weekend?
Well, first and foremost, I would like to say I learned a lot about all three of these guys on the show today over the last week. I learned that, or really beyond that, I know Cryptostache likes to draw on our paintings. I know that. I know the Arcane Bear, I found out from Twitter, he likes sex. I saw that on Twitter. And Blockchain Boy looks extremely weird bald. So you guys can go check all their social medias out to find that stuff. And for DZ, thank you for hosting the show today. But whose 4-year-old did this behind me today? Where's our artist? Steven is out today.
Steve's out. If I'm going to name names, it was Iran.
Oh,
I'm throwing him under the bus. Throwing him under the bus.
Throwing him under the bus. All right, listen, let's talk about the weekend, though. I don't – here is one thing I will say. Our new indicator that we've got, that we've been looking at, it's been showing some mixed things. It's been going back and forth over the last hour on whether it's a good time to long or short right now. So what that tells me is that the market is very indecisive. Over the last week, we've seen a lot of the manipulation removed from the market, which is removed. You see that over the weekends. You guys see that there's a lot of volatility. That's because a lot of the big money kind of sits to the sidelines. The volume gets lower. It's easier to push prices down. But really and truly, I don't see this shaping up the way that we saw Memorial Day. And the thing is, Memorial Day ended up not being that bad. That's actually when we had sold a bunch of altcoins. And, we ended up getting better prices for Bitcoin about 3 weeks after that. But we didn't see a gigantic push on the way down like a lot of people thought we were going to see over that weekend, including myself. I mean, sometimes when the chart guys, the bearish chart guys, are just pounding you with information like it's dropping, it's dropping, it's dropping, it's dropping, sometimes that weighs into your decisions. And I think on that weekend, so many of those chart guys were saying the price was going down, and then it just didn't happen, just proving that, the technical analysis is important. Is very important to the space. You definitely see patterns develop, but just like anything else in life, it's not 100%, but it does give you a good edge in determining which way the market is going to go, and that's the way you got to look at it. For me right now, I'm definitely not really trading this weekend because it is a holiday weekend. There could be volatility one way or the other. $33,000 is seeming to hold right now. It's been holding here pretty tough for I've got a video coming out tomorrow morning with Carl from the Moon where he explains why that $33,000 is a very significant range. If we do go below, we could dip below $30,000 again, but I don't think we're going to be, establishing new lows anytime soon. I still expect things to get back on the upswing. We talked about before how the last quarter futures closed. There was some weird action for a few days before things really started moving up. I think that we're going to look at starting on Tuesday, hopefully, as the ascent towards the middle of the month, when I think we will be heading closer to $40,000.
All right, so we're maybe seeing a little hopium Tuesday. So like Ben said, it's pretty bad when the chart guys start pounding you. I want to take it to Cryptostache, or as we call the defacer here. And those that don't know a little bit of a backstory, he drew a mustache on Ben's poster that Ben was, he was almost inconsolable.
It's a canvas.
It was a canvas. It wasn't even a poster. It was a canvas. We had to like give him a Kleenex box.
I was influenced by your team. They put the idea in my head.
Maybe we have the kernel of an idea.
Sitting right there.
Who's the mole?
No comment.
So you gotta look within. You gotta look within. And they're like, "Hey, that would be funny." I go, "Oh my god, that's a really funny idea." And I look to my right, and there just happened to be a permanent marker right there. I was like, I gotta do it. I'm sorry. I'll buy him a new one.
It's like D12 says. I'm an instigator. So Stache, I wanted to bring up a point. So a lot of people may be wondering, why do we have low or high volatility with low volume on the holiday weekends? What is it about low volume that might lead to more drastic price actions, especially to the downside? So why does low volume equal bad prices a lot of the time?
Well, I will make the point for you here. And, I think like Ben was saying, I think that we got a lot of weekend warriors out there, trading. People are hanging out. They got extra time. People who are probably not full-time traders, but people who do it, on the weekends and also at nighttime. And as well as institutionals, they're not really doing a lot on the weekends like that. There's probably not people in the office sitting there, trying to catch any things or setting stop losses or, managing their funds in general. And so I think that a lot of those institutional traders are more hodling during the weekend, right? They're stashing all their crypto until they get back into the week.
No pun intended on that, I imagine.
Yeah, exactly. And but the holiday always, this is a holiday in the United States. Now, it's not a holiday everywhere else. So we look at like the Eastern countries, they are not going to be as out of the game as I think a lot of Americans will be, because we're going to be too busy drinking it up, boozing it up for not just Sunday, but also Monday, because Monday is because it falls on a Sunday, this holiday. Monday is the official holiday and the federal holiday. So a lot of people have that Monday off too. So it's going to definitely extend it a little bit farther than what we normally see for kind of a weekend trend here. And so, yeah, I think that's really what contributes to being lower volume, is that you just have less bigger whales that are trying to move the price. And you may have some of these weekend warriors that think that, hey, I can splash the pot here a little bit and try and move things in my direction. And so, I don't do any trading on the weekends either. I'm out. Like I do it if I'm going to do trades. I usually do it during the weekdays, or I'll make sure that my stops are set during the weekends, and that's about that. But in general, as Arcane Bear was talking about, for most people, the HODL strategy makes sense, man. Buy consistently. DCA is going to win out almost every single time. I mean, I've been DCAing for the last 3 years, consistently buying a certain number of Bitcoin every single day. No matter what the price is, I don't care if it's up, down, whatever, I have it automatically just going. I make sure my account's topped up, and that is always a winning strategy. So, you don't have to worry about what's going on during the weekends. You don't have to worry about, getting liquidated on your long or your short, which I thought was kind of funny how BitBoy kind of that's what you started with, is like, oh, well, I don't know what we're going to do. Are you going to long or are you going to short? Like, no, do neither, ever. That's not a good strategy. Yeah. Don't listen to these guys.
Yeah, the weekends.
No ByBits over here.
Yeah, so I actually did want to bring it to you, Blockchain Boy. I know you stay away from the leverage trading, especially, at a time like this is probably some good advice. Is there any kind of spot trading, any kind of hot altcoins or anything? Or do you also just stay away on the weekends?
So I think during the weekends, it's probably the most exciting time for me, since, last weekend on Saturday at about 5 a.m., I was on TikTok Live with another trader, and we were looking at Bitcoin. It was about to enter the 20s, and it didn't. And it was very clearly about to enter the 20s. It's just a very manipulated market. Now, the last time Bitcoin entered the 20s, I had a lot of different price targets on altcoins, and those were a quick 40% gain on some of those the next couple days, which was a great opportunity to exit out of those positions because the market is still not decided either way. We're just ranging. So there are those little spot trades you can do. I'm not a fan of leverage trading because I just like to hold on to my assets. So my buy list, it was a short list of strong altcoins. So that was kind of what I've been working on. I still think Bitcoin is likely to enter the 20s again, especially if stocks weaken up and end up crashing. I see 24,000 as a possible bottom before we see an eventual uptrend. July is going to be a very crucial month for Bitcoin. We have the Jack Dorsey, Elon Musk debate coming up. Yeah. And if we don't see a bullish uptrend like 40K maybe at the end of July and holding that, I don't think we're going to resume the bull market. But I'm still hopeful. I still think it's very likely.
Yeah, no, that brings me to my next topic right here. Since we are talking about Binance, I want to bring it back to you real quick. Are you going to stay away from Binance moving forward, given all the bad news that they've seen lately? It seems like dominoes are just starting to fall with the countries that are not, raising regulations, or just kicking them out of the country just completely. It looks like we had Germany, Canada, Japan, Cayman Islands. How do you get kicked out of the Cayman Islands? How do you actually get kicked out of the Cayman Islands?
So I think there's really two issues with Binance right now. Number one is the fact that they just, hopped in and started making money as fast as they could, very similar to how Uber kind of cornered the ride-sharing market. And secondly, the Binance Smart Chain is just full of rug pulls and scams, and it's given it a bad name, which is why I've started my Launchpad in partnership with DAOmaker on the Binance Smart Chain. I'm actually long-term bullish on Binance. I would not be surprised if the SEC brought down the hammer on Binance after the XRP Ripple lawsuit is over with, perhaps this year. So that's definitely something to look out for. If anything, I'm buying more Crypto.com because man, if I don't love some Crypto.com, I'm very well diversified.
Great movie too.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I want to, speaking of regulators and regulations, Ben, I know this is one of your favorite topics that you love to talk about. So regulations, a lot of times they say they're bringing them up to protect the consumer from losing money. You know, we were talking in the office today how hypocritical that is with, you know, they don't stop you from buying lottery tickets, and that's definitely a net negative game there. Do you think the regulation, like, is there any truth to the fact that they're trying to protect their citizens, or is he, like I say, is it all smoke and mirrors?
Well, I mean, I think there's an element of truth there for sure. I mean, it's definitely mostly smoke and mirrors. But I mean, look, if someone is out there, you know, at like a literal scam they're running on people, I mean, you know, like if you look at BitConnect, you know, obviously people should have been protected from that and they weren't. Yeah, there's an element of truth to that. But with everything with the government, it's all about control. So really what they're doing is they don't like the fact that Binance is having American customers, that Binance is making money, that Binance is, you know, let me tell you one thing the U.S. government hates. There's two things it hates more than anything. Number one is, you know, when other people are making money and they're not. Number two is when you're critical of them, or when you're skirting around. I guess a better way to they hate when you're critical of them too. But when you're skirting around the laws and trying to do things kind of in the shadows, and you're getting benefits from that. And Binance has done that for sure. A lot of other companies have done that. And it's kind of like in the beginning, I think Binance was kind of like, you know, blowing up, and they just thought, you know, we're making all the money in the world. We're not really worried about this stuff. But now the chickens, or the roosters, I guess you could say, are coming home to roost. And you're starting to see a lot of countries outside the United States scrutinizing Binance. Now, what does this mean? Well, the SEC has very, very, very long arms. A lot of people say, well, if you're not in the United States and they can't actually get you. Well, that's not actually true. What they do is they work with countries and they force action. They say, listen, Singapore, you know that, you know, $7 billion we send you every year? I'm just making that number up. We know we send billions of dollars to countries across the world. But hypothetically, they'd say, you know what, Singapore, you know that $700 billion or $7 billion we send you in aid every year? You know what? We're going to pull that back if you don't put the hammer on Binance. Because right now, Binance has already, you know, kind of gotten around the American laws by having their own subsidiary here, and by saying, you know, if you don't have an IP address, or if you have an IP address in America, you can't use our service. If you have a mobile phone number inside of America, you can't use our service. So they've done their due diligence, their updated due diligence on that front. So now I think the SEC is probably going behind a lot of backs, and the CFTC may be involved as well, in trying to get a lot of other countries to put the hammer down on them as well. I think this is actually an extension of what's going on with America looking at the regulation for Binance. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I'm seeing there's almost like two avenues these companies are taking. You have the Binance approach, you know, like we mentioned earlier, it's almost like Uber's strategy, where it's just throw as much money as you can at it immediately, try to grow as fast as you can, and then, you know, ask for permission or ask for forgiveness versus asking for permission. But I want to bring it to you, Arcane Bear. So you have a lot of these other companies like Coinbase and others that are working a little bit more in tandem with the regulators. Do you think that they're just the competitors are too entrenched with the powers that be for Binance to stand a chance, or is there a way for them to climb up out of this bear trap?
Well, I personally like the mantra of education over regulation. Like all of the things that I've learned how to do through trial and error. And I think stopping people from making those errors is much worse than the regulation itself to some degree. For instance, I'm a big fan of Avalanche, which is another layer one solution, has some unique aspects to it, but for United States citizens, you guys just can't play in that game. So it's a really hard coin toss just from the question of, should we regulate this sector versus let someone get burned and then learn the lesson of finding out, well, that thing's hot, and if I touch it, I might get burned. Personally, I think education over regulation is a better example. But with Binance, one of the reasons why I think they started to lean so heavily into the Binance Smart Chain is because they realized that their move fast and break thing mantra they took from Zuckerberg and other companies like Blockchain Boy said, like Uber, they just move quickly and hope for the best along the way. And to back up Ben's point, FACTA, which is the Foreign Affairs Tax Compliance Act, et cetera, that really lengthened the arms of the United States government to peer into other banking systems. Before that, it was actually a lot easier to get away with this stuff. And they've strong-armed a lot of countries, and whether it's through financial or military or aid of any kind. So it's generally a downside, I think, to regulate people away from making mistakes, because then they don't learn the value of the lesson. And Binance, again, I still think that one of the reasons why they aimed to start the Binance Smart Chain was to try to get a suite of products up and out the door that could be decentralized, that couldn't be regulated, ahead of them likely knowing that this stuff was coming. If you look at, for those of you that were around during the EOS fundraise, I don't know what you want to call it. When you read the paperwork to that thing, it was basically like, yeah, they raised $1 billion. It said this is worth absolutely nothing. You know, they took all the legal loopholes to make sure they weren't getting in trouble, but the SEC ended up just hitting them with a fine. And a lot of the times that kind of seems to be the modus operandi of the SEC is you better make enough money fast enough to pay us off by the time we get there.
Yeah. Speaking of fine, let's cut to Stache, or go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I totally agree with that too, because I think that is really the mode we're seeing here. And I think that that was the approach that Binance was going to take from the beginning. I don't think that this was like a scramble, like, oh, we're just doing this. We have no idea how this is going to play out. I think that they saw how things had been playing out, and this is a pretty obvious play. Just like you said, don't ask for permission. Ask for forgiveness at the back end, and you've already made tons of money. They're going to slap you on the wrist when you talk about, oh, they're going to bring the hammer down and all these other countries. Their hammers are like tiny. They're going like, bink, bink, bink. Oh, we got you. So when you talk about Binance bouncing back, I mean, they never went anywhere, and they're definitely not going to go anywhere anytime soon.
So Stache, since you're our since you're an NFT expert, should CZ just stop buying NFTs and start focusing on like glad handing the regulators? What's going on with that?
No, I think he should actually buy more NFTs. He's less involved in the NFT scene than he should be. But I do love the fact that they just launched their new NFT exchange. And, you know, I really think that in contrast to what they've done with a lot of their services, you know, this is one of those things that, you know, should be opened up and have access to, because they wouldn't be considered securities in most countries underneath most regulations. So you know, that's something that I think that they're going to continue to push forward on all these products. They're not going to let any of these things stop them. And you know, just like we've seen in the past, you know, they've gone through trials and tribulations already in a lot of these same respects. And I don't think that it's ever really going to stop them from continuing to be the #1 leading exchange across the world. What it may really do is push for changes in regulation, which is what we really should have. You have all these countries who are trying to say, don't do this, or underneath our regulations, you can't operate, or you're not registered here. And we're becoming a global society, and that's something that crypto is really helping us to do. Right now in this stream, I can guarantee there are at least 20 or 30 people from different countries watching right now. You know, we are a global society, and that is essentially the approach that Binance has taken, even though all these individual governments are trying to regulate it underneath whatever a million different agencies that they have. They're so confusing, and, you know, we still have all this gray area, and nobody really knows what the hell is going on. So, I mean, it is a little Wild Westy, but yeah. I think that focus on global accessibility is what we're really looking for the future. It's just being pushed back by all these countries because they understand that means they lose control, which is what BitBoy was just talking about. You know, the governments want to keep hold of that control. They want to keep you in their pocket. So that's why they don't. That's why they have the SEC not allowing you to you know, risk anything in any of these investments. And like Arcane Bear was saying, you know, you got to learn those lessons. If you don't, then you're never really going to truly learn. You know, there should be some protections there, but to a certain extent, and I think most of the time, these regulatory bodies use it to their advantage and not really to protect the people. You know, it's like the police that are sitting around like, oh, we're here to protect the people. Like, you come after the crime's done, and you don't do jack shit, you know? So I think that's a lot of times what we see with these regulatory bodies as well.
Yeah, I want to touch on accessibility. Or go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, I just want to say one last thing, and we talked about this on the stream a little bit this morning. I think maybe it was yesterday. Like, we know we've got the government, and then we have the people really pulling the strings, and that's the banks, and that's the big money. There is a crypto mafia, and this is called Digital Currency Group. Explained this morning how they control the narratives of CoinDesk. Anything involved with the Digital Currency Group is sus, to say the least, okay? The Digital Currency Group runs crypto. Grayscale is at the head of that, okay? Which we'll talk about in a minute. But here's the question. The question is, when it comes to all of this, is what company is left out of the Digital Currency Group and what company is in the Digital Currency Group? Binance, outside the club. Coinbase, in the club. So it's not 50 Cent, but they in the club.
Well, I will say this.
Go ahead.
Binance has built an empire. I don't know if you guys realize just how much they own. Not only are they the largest exchange, but the Binance Smart Chain surpassed Ethereum in transactions earlier this year. They own CoinMarketCap. They're the largest investor into Certic, which is like the #1 auditing firm. They have their own launchpad coming. They have their own launchpad, their NFT marketplace, their debit card. They've got these decentralized exchanges that I'm sure they hold a large amount of the coins for those. They've got, isn't it curious how Shiba was pumped by Chinese money, got listed on Binance, got listed on all these exchanges? How is that? Was there some connection in there? They didn't list SafeMoon. Listen, I hate SafeMoon, but that was the original meme coin. Where did Shiba come from? What was it pumped by? Binance has their fingers in everything. It's insane. So if you think Binance is going to be regulated into the dirt, I don't think Binance is going anywhere anytime soon.
Well, keeping it on you, Blockchain Boy. I know there's been a lot of rug pulls and hacks lately. Does that concern you at all with the Binance Smart Chain? Do you see like the hammer coming down a little bit harder because of that? Or are you just saying, this is crypto. You get what you get?
Maybe. I mean, the Binance Smart Chain, I obviously prefer Ethereum for most projects in general, but the Binance Smart Chain is just a very young ecosystem. What I've been hearing that I really don't want to happen is that all the rug pulls and poo coins and meme coins are going to go to Cardano when the smart contracts come out. I really don't want that to happen. I don't want all these new ecosystems to be, clogged up by this crap. But that just might be what happens. I mean, the only reason the Binance Smart Chain has all of that is because it's cheap and accessible. And if Cardano is cheap and accessible to people, then they're going to just build on that too. It's not necessarily because of the Binance Smart Chain. Just nobody wants to go bankrupt and have their family become homeless paying those gas fees on Ethereum to send a meme coin around,
Whoa. I mean, gas fees are a little low right now. It's not that bad.
Okay, a lot of that crap gets flushed down the toilet when the bear market starts as well. Like one of the fun things about the downside is that we get rid of a lot of the noise that's there. Like there's no Shiba Inu in the bear market in 2018 or 2019. Those basically become irrelevant again, I would suspect.
Yeah. And speaking of what Ben was talking about with the Grayscale, looks like we have some pretty large news. Looks like Cardano just got added to Grayscale. It's their third large cap fund. It's making up about between 4 and 5% of their complete holdings. And it looks like ADA's pumping. The markets are reacting. There we got the graphic up right there. For some reason, they have Bitcoin Cash. No comment on that. Maybe they held Bitcoin a long time ago and just have the forked assets. I'm not sure. That's what I'm hoping, at least. And
Litecoin too, man. I mean,
keeping it on you,
he should have
Arcane
pulled a
Bear.
Charlie Lee and dumped his coins. Like,
should have. I mean, even if Vitalik sold Ethereum at the top in 2017 as well. So I mean,
sold the top.
I mean, some say
they
that's
don't care.
smart.
They've made their money. Dead project.
There's nothing wrong with
selling
selling
top.
No, there's nothing wrong with the top there.
But when it's your own project, is there a conflict of interest? When you sell the top and it's your own project, do you guys feel there's a conflict of interest?
Well, that's what
and
he
if
said.
you tweet about it. If you tweet about it.
That's
if
what
you say
he
it's
said.
going to happen.
Yeah, and you tweeted about it too, right?
Yeah.
What
you're
he
absolved
said
of all
was
sins.
he wanted to sell it so he didn't have to have that conflict of interest again. But he still sold the top. So yeah.
Right.
Famous tweet.
To bring it back to Arcane Bear. So what do you see as the next large cap that they might bring in? Some of their considered assets, they have Uniswap, they have Chainlink, or it looks like they already have Chainlink. They have Polkadot, they have Solana. Is there anything that you see as like a slam dunk? So last quarter is Chainlink. This quarter, they brought on Cardano. What do you foresee next quarter? Like, what are some of the slam dunks for you?
Well, just on their sheet here, we'll go over the products that they offer. So they currently offer a few different trusts, and this is a question I couldn't figure out as well. You've got Basic Attention Token, the Bitcoin Trust, Bitcoin Cash, Grayscale, Chainlink, Decentraland, Filecoin, Horizon, Ethereum. And this is where I had the question: is this digital large cap fund? I'm not sure what it represents in terms of their total holdings. Like, and this is a question to all you guys as well. I was trying to figure it out, but I think that the Cardano purchase that they bought was only 4% of their large cap fund, not 4% of their entire their entire holdings. Yeah, because you have their large cap fund, it holds 4%, but when you look at the rest of their portfolio here, without the large cap fund is actually at the bottom at 356 million. So that's only 4% of that 356 million. It's almost irrelevant in compared to the 22 billion dollars in Bitcoin. $6.4 billion in Ethereum. So I think a lot of the times what happens here is the news cycle really tries to pick up. They're like, oh, we're adding Cardano, and people forget to recognize it's actually one of the smallest holdings on the Grayscale pack. Now, there doesn't seem actually to be any particular line of interest that they've added to their larger portfolio here, but I think that the DeFi space is really going to come screaming in next. And I think a lot of it has to do with regulation. The older investors that are looking at DeFi potentials, whether it's on Compound, Celsius, these Aave loans, you're getting an extraordinary return with very little input. So I think the next kind of big step for these players is the addition of the DeFi sector onto the Grayscale holdings list. But I'm assuming that that's probably going to wait till they get a little bit of clear regulation around what is it a savings account when you're on Compound? Like, I don't think that they've come up with a clear definition of what it even is yet.
Yeah. And Ben, I want to bring it to you real quick. I know you've actually interviewed Charles Hoskinson. Do you feel that Cardano deserved to be the third coin that they added to the large fund? Or do you think there's someone more deserving?
Wait. Do you mean he is Charles Hoskinson?
He has a beard.
No.
Did we even tell that story?
Is that you?
It's the Bruce Wayne.
Somebody thought I was Charles Hoskinson, which is
tell it.
I mean, I don't want to say it's
Sorry,
totally
it was funny.
humiliating,
It was a good moment.
When was this?
I mean, this was in the airport when we got to Miami for the Bitcoin conference. A girl walked up to me and she was positive I was Charles Hoskinson.
It was
She
the
thinks
first time you
that
got
her and
seen,
her dad have changed their life through a staking pool and wanted to thank me personally. So now I was wearing a hat. Okay, I was wearing a hat and
no
glasses,
falcon.
so I look quite different.
There was no
and
falcon
I
either.
had no falcon on my shoulder. Actually, I do have a falcon on my shoulder. And so what did I do when she confronted me on all this? I did the only thing I knew to do, and I thanked her for her support in my project. So
it was great. It was glorious. We're all sitting there and we're trying to tell her this isn't him, and she just would not listen to any of us. She didn't care. She was all about it.
She knew that I was Charles. Now my middle name is Charles. Yep. So dox myself about that. So here's the thing, guys. Look, this is what I understand your point, Arcane Bear. This is added. It's not the largest holding that they have by any stretch of the imagination. But what I want you guys to notice is, what other coins do they have in that large cap fund? I'm pretty sure if we pull that back up, they all already have their own Grayscale Trust. Cardano is the only one on that list that does not have one. And so the common sense would say that's probably coming. The reason why I think this story is so important is because I've been told, we've looked at stats, we've been talking about on the channel for several weeks, or at least 2 weeks now, Cardano is the next big institutional coin. The institutional money has been flowing into Bitcoin, has been flowing into Ethereum. We know that. The Ethereum futures contracts, when those came out from Q4 of last year to Q1 this year, we saw, I think it was like a 100x in the amount of institutional money flowing into Cardano, flowing into Ethereum. We looked at it in a video last week. Cardano had more institutional money flowing into it last month than like the rest of its time combined. This money is coming to Cardano. Now, all of a sudden, after I've been told that, after we looked at those numbers, now it gets added in a small way to Grayscale. You look at the other coins on the list, they've already got their trust. Cardano has, I don't know what the regulatory issues are that prevent them from just doing it. I mean, we know Coinbase, it took forever to get on Coinbase as well, which should have been, I don't know, is that a personal thing or against Charles, or was there a regulatory reason? I don't know. But one can surmise that Cardano Trust is coming based off of this news, in my opinion. So this is another way. Yes, it's only $14 million. It would be probably the number if you look at, you figure out those percentages. About $14 million that they put into Cardano for that, large cap fund. But I think this is important because it's a precursor of things to come. If you look at the biggest run up for Ethereum, it was after that money started flowing into it. And I think Cardano's biggest run up is still ahead.
I want to talk about network effects. Speaking of Cardano and Ethereum, Blockchain Boy, I know you like, now I might get attacked for this, I know you like your coins to actually do something. Do you feel that Ethereum has got such a far head start with the network effect that Cardano can catch up? They say, the institutional money is the smart money. Do you think they know something we don't? Do you think this ID plan of theirs is going to take off? Do you see something actually like smart contracts around the corner or anything? What do you think is going to happen long term versus Ethereum and Cardano there?
Listen, it's not about like what's going to kill Ethereum, because in my opinion, that's just going to be Ethereum 2. Realistically, it's winner take most, and I think Ethereum will take most. It's basically, can Cardano become more functional than Ethereum, have more developers, have a better ecosystem before ETH 2.0 comes? And I don't think the answer is yes. Now, that being said, do I like Cardano? Yes. Do I want to see smart contracts come out? Yes. I talked to some members from the Sunday Swap team, and they're basically sitting on their hands waiting for that smart contract capability to come out. Like, Cardano has no pre-built ecosystem. It's basically all untested. So if a developer screws the code up, your money is gone. Everyone's going to be exploiting that. It's going to be worse than the Binance Smart Chain at first before we get a fully developed out ecosystem, in my opinion. But no, do I still like Cardano? Because I know there's going to be somebody in the comments saying, "Oh, he doesn't like Cardano." Love Cardano.
BJ
holding
shaking his
Cardano
head
for a long time. Now it's worth what? Over 40 billion. It does nothing. The potential is huge, but it does nothing. So that's my thoughts.
Hold on. Actually, I'm going to disagree with that. So I won't say it does not. So you guys saw me laughing before. I actually do like Cardano as well. I was kind of just laughing in the comment, but that's not necessarily the case. NFTs have actually come to Cardano. So when you say it does nothing, I actually would beg to differ on that, and I do think that that's actually a really good angle. And at least they have something that is helping them to be able to create that community and give it an established base there. So we've actually seen a couple of NFT projects already launch on Cardano, and not having to rely on getting to a certain point where there's a huge developed ecosystem. And I think that was part of the way that Binance Smart Chain has really taken off as well. Mixing these kind of DeFi platforms with NFTs to kind of gamify things. So I do agree with you, Blockchain Boy. It may be a little rough here getting started, but that we know that is a trajectory that has already worked numerous times, right? We know that that's kind of what Ethereum has done. Start off with smart contracts and kind of transition to having NFTs being one of the main drivers of a lot of these DeFi projects and dApps that are on the platform. So I think that Cardano does have some forward momentum here, and I think that having some institutional money injected to it will definitely help to put a little bit more spotlight on it and possibly get more developers to want to develop on it when they see that there is some traction happening.
Yeah, I think
So I know,
smart contracts slam dunk with the as far as the NFTs, because it ties right into the ID system. But Blockchain Boy, you want to jump in there?
Yeah, so I know that there's an NFT community in Cardano. One of my buddies is minting a bunch of NFTs, but because there's no smart contracts, it's just like, oh, okay, I want to buy this NFT from you. Yeah, I'm not gonna. Yeah, I won't scam you out of some Cardano. Here, why don't you send me this over? So there's really
you can
cool,
get scammed
right?
with the smart contract, man. You got this even with the smart contract. That doesn't
True.
guarantee that you're not going to get scammed. So but you're right. it definitely needs to be fleshed out a lot more.
So it's very early stage. Like I bought an NFT in Bitcoin Miami. I did not use Cardano because it was easier just to do that, and bought it right off Rarible, I think, or something like that. And it worked for me. Cardano.
I was giving out free NFTs. I was giving out free NFTs at Bitcoin Miami. It was a lot of fun, man. I had QR codes, tossed them to everybody, and but yeah, I think
free NFTs, free NFTs, free mustache drawings, and free mustache rides, as he says. Look, here's the thing. I'm glad.
I'm a man of the people, guys. I love my community, and I love to give. I'm a giver.
Oh my gosh!
I wanted to
Listen.
jump
I
back
want
to
to say
Ben's
this.
point there for a sec.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Ben, you're talking about the accumulation by Grayscale, and I just for fun I thought it would, these players, they're smart, they know what they're doing, right? So when we look at Bitcoin or when we look at Ethereum, generally any large accumulator is going to do their best to make the majority of their purchases down here. With Cardano, we see something very similar, right? The majority of the accumulation, if you were going to build a Cardano Trust, you would have probably wanted to do back near the 18-cent range effectively. I bet you that you're correct, that this is them starting that process, but even still averaging it over time. If you look back at Grayscale's purchasing process through 2017 through 2020, they actually were accumulating all the way along here. They just try to average in prices. So I suspect that, like any big player, if you're going to wait, you're going to likely wait for a bear market before you really start leaning into your accumulation. So when we go back to the rest of our what we were looking at with Grayscale, they built this $21 billion in the Bitcoin Trust during the bear market. Same with the Ethereum Trust. Most of that was built in that down cycle that we were just looking at here for the majority of 2018 through 2019, when Ethereum was down here at $400, between $80 to $400 effectively. So I think any big player like Grayscale is really going to take their time, be patient, and wait for a proper price.
Why you have that chart
correction.
up? We all know Cardano. I mean, we could tell by the chart it had a fantastic year. A lot of people are saying,
Yes.
Cardano to $1, then it hit $1. Then they're saying Cardano to $10. Now let's split the difference. Can you see Cardano possibly hitting $5 this bull run, given the information you have right there?
Well, so one of the things that I like to do is usually look at the first kind of breakouts we had, and the bull market really started back in the beginning of the March 11th, like when everyone got scared and we all locked down for the first time. I won't use the P word, but from there we're actually up around 10x approximately, and we hit an 18x effectively. So we're still really high up. I do have a little bit of personal conjecture that we are in the middle of the bull market effectively, so there's still room for upside. Now, going to $10 would be a little bit difficult. Our first price targets that we were going over in our videos were between $2 and $3.50, just to match the fib extension of the current mid of the bull market. Now, again, these bigger players, and I think anyone who's interested in these markets, look at the price difference between March of 2020 to where we are today, 3,700%, 3,800%. That means for every $1,000 you put in, you're sitting on approximately $38,000 today. Now, I just don't think Grayscale is going to go through a huge amount of effort to try to accumulate Cardano at this price, because even if we do, I think personally, if we do go up to that $3 to $5 mark, which is a potential, $10 sounds ludicrous to me, at least on this cycle, we're actually likely to come back down into the 50 to 25 cent area before going up again. And we've seen these repeated processes both in Ethereum and with Bitcoin, that we have these huge ups, we drop 50 to 80% pretty systematically all the way back down to where we had previous areas of support, and then we have another bull market that starts over the course of a 3 to 5 year accumulation period. And I think Bitcoin is the best example of that, Ethereum too, where the Grayscale was accumulating all through 2018 and 2019 to try to get a best average price around 6 to 11 grand effectively. So I don't think that they're going to jump in and try to accumulate Cardano at this late stage. They're probably just starting the paperwork, going through the regulation. But I do agree with you, Ben, that this is a very high likelihood that they're going to include a singular trust. And when Cardano's price comes into a bear market, maybe over the next year and a half from now, that then they'll start accumulating large amounts of any asset that they're interested in.
All right, I want to end with, looks like we're about running out of time. I want to end with a rapid fire question. So it looks like Arcane Bear, you're saying if the bull run continues, we have a top end of about $3.50 to $5. Cryptostache, where do you see the high end for Cardano at?
I mean, I could see it going that. I'm not sure how long this bull market is going to last. I mean, really, when we look at this macro trend. So, I mean, I could see it getting to $3. I don't know that it's going to get all the way to $5. I don't see that.
What about you, Blockchain Boy? What do you say for the top end if the bull market continues?
Well, I think it really depends on, can Cardano bring out those smart contracts before the end of the bull run? Because if it has that ecosystem, people could FOMO into Cardano the way that they FOMO'd into Ethereum back in the day, or into any of these platforms that people thought are going to be the next big thing, that they're still around today. But if that ecosystem becomes real, I think $5 is possible. Now it depends on that smart contract timeline and that ecosystem timeline, and obviously the bull market length. But I think that's a possibility. Is it likely? I don't think so. I think $3-4 maybe at the most. If we go with an average kind of, it's eh.
Yeah, and in it, which you've been, where do you see it if the bull market continues? Where do you see the top end for Cardano?
$10.
$10.
Look, here's the thing. Yeah, I have no qualms about that. My official number was always $9. So, I mean, look, the most parabolic time of the cycle is the last month. And that's what everybody short sells. It's not logical. It's not a logical number to sit here and say, like, oh, you know what? I think it can easily 10x from here. I understand. But when you look at the parabolic blow-offs of the altcoin cycle, then you look what happened in 2017. You look how the price went from, I think it was 3 cents to $1.30, I think it was, or $1.13 in 2 months in the last bull cycle. Once again, they had nothing. Blockchain Boy, I love you. You're awesome. I think the way you look at this is totally wrong. I know Stache looks at this totally wrong too, I think. Has nothing to do with actual use case.
Believe
has nothing to do with how much is out. It's all speculation.
All right.
Okay?
All hype.
It's all speculation.
All hype. No go.
This is the last point I want to make, though, because I really want to jump in and make this point before we end the show, which is Arcane Bear, your point about them accumulating, totally logical. Makes 100% sense, but it's wrong. Okay. This is not about them accumulating Cardano at a good price point. It's simply about accumulating Cardano. This is not about them making money. It's about Digital Currency Group having control of a financial empire. The more Bitcoin they have, the more Ethereum they have, the more Cardano they have, the more control than they can put on the entire financial system. You got to know the crypto mafia runs it. If it were about money, then I understand that makes total sense. I think it's about much more than that. I think it's about trying to break down these communities and trying to get the community to sell their coins so they have the most coins and they can have the most control. Grayscale, the #1 holder of Bitcoin. I don't know about Ethereum. I don't know where they fall on that chart, but I know they're the #1 holder of Bitcoin. That should tell you what this is about.
Yep. All right, so it looks like we got a $3, a $4, a $5, almost a $6, and a $9. And we're going to end it with Arcane Bear. But right before that, so AH in chat said, Cryptostache, you look like Jason Sudeikis, and I can't unsee it. I'm sorry, I had to say that. All right, we're going to end with...
Someone just called me that while I was on vacation in Florida, man. They were like, Ted Lasso, is that you?
I can't unsee it. All right, looks like Arcane Bear is our winner. All right, good job, man. We're going to end it with you, give you about 30 seconds. Hit us with your parting thoughts and let us know what the people need to hear.
Okay, well, just to, again, thank you guys for having me on the channel. I love this stuff. It's always good to share some conjecture. I love being wrong. Usually means I'm about to learn something along the way. So thank you guys for such a fantastic conversation. If you're new to any of my work, you can find me at Arcane Bear. Hopefully we will get invited back to continue these conversations. I have a lot of fun with you guys, so I'm looking forward to the next one. And just to give a fair shake on the price targets, one of my favorite mantras is heads I win, tails I only lose a little. So even if a Cardano does go to $9 or $10, think about how much you could lose before how much you could make. And I think you generally do really well by following that sentiment. So let's leave it with that, and thank you guys.
All right. And that's all we got. Make sure you go in the description, hit everyone's links, and hit their like, hit their subscribe, and that's all we got. DZ out.